Matera, who is joining us as the Minister of State from Rwanda and will be making some remarks. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have permanent secretaries, senior officials and dignitaries, pharmaceutical and industry representatives, academics and research institutions, our funders and development partners, and of course ACRN leadership, staff and stakeholders. Tonight we mark a very special moment as we officially launch the Africa Clinical Research Network, which is an initiative dedicated to establishing a world-class African-led clinical research ecosystem. This journey would not be possible, of course, without the unwavering support of our partners, the ministries that are leading our countries, the pharmaceutical industry, research institution, and our key funders and partners, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Edison Institute of Technology. So we recognize the collaborative effort that made this launch possible. Our mission is clear: to expand our African-led clinical research network with a focus on sustainability, and in doing so, to enhance Africa's competitiveness in clinical research. With that, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to our Director of Partnerships and Alliances, Dr. Wilfred Gurubira.
Good evening to you all. Honorable Minister, we thank you for gracing us with your presence. Distinguished permanent secretaries, distinguished guests, ACRN leadership. They say a picture tells a story, 1,000 words. And I could describe the ACRN, I could spend all my time. And so I'm going to show you a series of pictures. And hopefully that will cover all the words that I need to say. But just really to say before I show you a video that kind of gives us an essence of who we are and what we're about. I just want to say I'm overwhelmed and so full of joy that you've managed to join us for this launch, and it is such a momentous and joyous occasion. So please clap hands for yourself and just thank you for coming. And if our media guys could show a video, thank you.
Africa can generate local data, improve national policies, and tailor treatments to its people. An Africa Clinical Research Network would facilitate collaboration, standardize research, and boost access to trials, offering economic benefits and faster paths to treatments. This network would empower Africa to address diseases, improve access to vaccines, and position the continent as a leader in global health. The Africa Clinical Research Network, ACRN, calls for African leadership to prioritize clinical research.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. The creation of the African Clinical Research Network has been built on years of working as a clinician on the continent, working with colleagues and researchers on the continent for the last few decades, and trying to understand some of the challenges that we face. It's really a pleasure and an honor to stand before you today and talk about the culmination of the work that we've done, particularly over the last couple of years, as we've thought about and planned the establishment of the African Clinical Research Network. So I think this goes without saying. As Africa, we contribute only about 2% of global clinical trials, and yet we comprise about 18% of the global population and are rapidly growing to almost 25% of the global population. As a result, the medications that we use, that we prescribe, have limited data on safety, efficacy in local populations, increasing the need for us to build and strengthen that capacity on the continent. In addition, our populations are growing, our youth population is growing, and more of us are spending more on healthcare. And so the need to develop therapeutic interventions that work in our local populations and our genetic diversity are increasingly important. Why now? So over the last several decades, several efforts have been made to strengthen clinical research on the continent, and all of those are now paying dividends and enabling us to have strong research institutions. However, for many research organizations, there's a boom and bust cycle. A grant comes through, it goes away, the staff, the talent is rapidly lost. In addition, we need to expand research beyond infectious disease. As Africans, we not only have HIV, malaria, TB, we have other infectious diseases as well as non-communicable diseases, oncology, cardiovascular disease, and diversifying research is increasingly important. We also need to build sustainable models for clinical research and trials that are financially viable. I think recent changes and funding models further emphasize the importance of having sustainable, viable models, and build locally rooted operational and scientific leadership to guide and strengthen the execution of clinical trials. So this is why we have established the Africa Clinical Research Network. Our mission is to create an African-led, so led from the continent, not from Boston, Seattle, London, Liverpool, led from the continent, that drives clinical research excellence on the continent by linking researchers to opportunities, conducting quality clinical trials, and doing all of that on a robust digital infrastructure. But all of that must be done in a community of trust, so building trust across multiple stakeholders, from governments, researchers, patient communities. We want Africa to be a competitive partner in global clinical research and clinical trials. As ACRN, our core functions lie in 5 areas. We aim to establish a CRO, an African-led CRO that can facilitate and enable research across diverse clinical research entities on the continent. We want to support the capacitation of sites, providing training and capacity building to research sites and centers. We are establishing a central laboratory to support quality research on the continent, while also strengthening and linking with laboratory units on the continent to execute quality safety laboratory analyses. We're aiming to build bioequivalence and early phase clinical research capabilities. Most of the drugs on the continent are generic drugs, so being able to conduct bioequivalence and first-in-human studies on the continent is critical. And lastly, but most important, is health data and health data analytics. So having a strong, robust digital infrastructure to support execution of clinical research and trials. Our approach is to begin in ML3 countries, so countries with strong regulatory frameworks. I'm proud to say that over the last year, 3 additional African countries became ML3, so we have a total of 8 countries, plus Kenya, and we'll be working across those countries as we establish our network. Our model is around diversifying trials, and that can only happen through partnerships within the local ecosystem. So hub and spoke models that enable centers of excellence in country to work across multiple research institutions to facilitate trials across multiple therapeutic areas. And we as ACRN want to enable connecting those centers to research opportunities, whether through the pharmaceutical industry, foundations, governments, or academic private institutions, while ensuring our partner hubs are able to execute trials within their local ecosystem. We aim to do this on a digital infrastructure that has been supported through the Ellison Institute and Oracle, providing us with some of the leading tools to support clinical research and trials, from everything from study startup all the way through to randomization, supply management, data management, and study execution, and working with our colleagues in Oxford to integrate AI to streamline our processes, facilitate safety reporting, and other clinical trial operation activities. We aim to support sites as they establish the capabilities for trials across multiple therapeutic areas. So although we have strengths in infectious diseases, enabling support to other specialties will be important. So ACRN supporting both investigator and sponsor-driven studies, providing support to investigators on patient recruitment, retention, supporting the quality management systems and ensuring data quality and data integrity, while enabling investigators to focus on patient care and trial-related activities. We aim to support ensuring that as Africa we meet the 3 key parameters for research and global competitiveness. Time, working to advocate for streamlined processes, faster regulatory timelines, and transparent processes. Quality, supporting sites both in capacitating them to engage in trials, but ensuring the data quality, data integrity, and cost, driving cost efficiencies that enable sites in Africa to compete globally. So what we hope through our endeavors is faster recruitment and site activation, regulatory alignment, cost efficiency, seamless execution across multiple disease areas, and the data quality, data focus to ensure that trials are auditable and meet global regulatory standards. I'll lastly talk about our 4-year roadmap as ACRN. We see this as a journey beginning today with our foundation and early growth, strengthening our capacity and scaling our services over the next couple of years, expanding those capabilities, and really working towards providing full CRO and sponsor capabilities as ACRN. Our approach is a stepwise approach that enables us to establish core functions and services. We are already working to initiate studies and trials within the network, and are pleased to partner with sites in Rwanda, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, South Africa for some of our initial services. We aim to strengthen clinical trial units in our partner countries, and with time also strengthen and enable full service CRO capabilities within ACRN. So we hope that this model will enable locally led research hubs. Our model is deeply rooted in local capability and local leadership. We aim to work in partnership with governments and sites for workforce development across clinical trial execution. We ultimately want to create a thriving life sciences ecosystem in Africa, and we see clinical research as the foundation for building that life sciences ecosystem. And we hope to build sustainable models, so entrepreneurial models that ensure that our sites are running efficiently and able to sustain themselves and have good operating models. So lastly, we hope that you will work with us as we aim to develop sustainable models of clinical research and trials on the continent. We aim to engage many of you as sponsors and partners in executing trials. We aim to strengthen the regulatory landscape on the continent and strengthen site capabilities on the continent. And we aim to grow locally led clinical research operations capabilities and functional service capabilities. Thank you for your attention, and really look forward to hopefully working with many of you as we grow the ACRN network and capabilities.
I now have the absolute pleasure of inviting Professor Claude Mubunyi, the Director General of RBC, to join Tariro in the signing of an MOU between our two organizations. Prof. Claude, we are so grateful to have you with us this evening. Prof. Claude is a distinguished expert in clinical microbiology and laboratory medicine, and as the Director General of RBC, he brings decades of experience to the organization and has made significant strides in enhancing Rwanda's healthcare infrastructure. So if I could invite both of you to come up to the stage, please.
the government of Rwanda and the RBC, a key component to the success of building a life sciences industry on the continent will be partnerships with government. And we greatly appreciate the support that we have received from governments such as the government of Rwanda, and look to work closely with the government as we build our network and support clinical research and trials in Rwanda. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity on behalf of the Minister of Health and the Rwanda Biomedical Center. I know that the Minister of State will have the opportunity to really bless this session, but Rwanda Biomedical Center is pleased to partner with ACRN in this journey. And this is really coming at the right opportunity, where Rwanda Biomedical Center is leading the implementation of really strengthening clinical trials to really support also our visions of Rwanda to become a bio-manufacturing destinations. So we are really glad today to sign this agreement. I think this is really the result of many efforts that has taken before. So we had the opportunity to meet, discuss, and also align all the efforts so that we really build this ecosystem. I can also say that this signing of this agreement comes at the right time. Next week we are having also another opportunity to build capacity of Rwandans to become good clinical researchers, and also it's also aligned with other good achievements from achieving the MLP by Rwanda Food and Drug Administration, which I think is something we really want to mention today. So really open to further collaborations. I see many clinical researchers in DCTP and other good partners, IVI and others, which I think it was a good opportunity to continue this collaboration through probably some of the plans from ACRN. So thank you very much again for this partnership. We look forward to work together and really put in place this very important action plan from really raising the quality clinical trials site in Africa. Thank you very much.
And partnerships with governments are critical, as they are the custodians not only of health but of building the economies that will enable all of us to thrive on the continent. So thank you, Minister, and it's an honor to ask you to join us.
Clinical trials are extremely important, but I don't think we pay a lot of attention to it. You know, we talk about the end game, which is manufacturing on the continent. But for long, we haven't invested in what is the foundation to it. And that's why you will see historically on the continent, even when we talk about manufacturing, a lot of plants are actually doing fill and finish. Fill and finish is important, but there's a lot of downstream work that needs to be done. So ACRN comes at a critical point to bridge that gap. So on the continent, many countries, including Rwanda, are building the entire value chain that starts with epidemiology, and that is what you're talking about, really working with public health institutes that Professor Claude leads here, to really understand what are the issues we face on the continent, and then maybe study them better by doing clinical trials. And I want to give a shout out to ACRN because you're not only interested in investing into late phases clinical trials, which we have seen a lot of action happening on the continent, but even the earlier phases, the preclinical ones and the phase ones, are extremely important in those here on the continent. So I think it's a critical part that ACRN is taking up, and we're looking forward to work with you on that. You're joining other institutions that are also working in this space. In the clinical trial R&D part, we have IVI that's involved here. On the the regulatory side of it, like you mentioned, us and a few other colleagues on the continent have achieved a certain degree of maturity. But you're also joining a continental body here with the African Medicine Agency being headquartered here and many other institutions. So really going through that value chain, clinical trial, R&D, epidemiology, manufacturing, supply chain, market shaping, etc. I think we are all, building something solid. And I'd like to congratulate again everyone who has been involved in this. Rwanda is happy and proud to partner with you. We're going to be with you all along the way. This is not just a health issue, but it's also an economical issue. Before I joined the meeting, I was looking at, just Googled, actually, asked ChatGPT, what are the two sectors that are going to be really growing by 2050. And one is biotechnology, two is AI, and I think biotechnology, biopharmaceutical is what we're discussing here today. So we're not only tackling a health issue, but also an economic issue. I think as we reflect on the success of this organization, because we're moving into the implementation phase, it's going to be important to move fast because the demand is there. And really building the foundations of all our sites to have as many sites as we can. We just came back from, we just completed an exercise, but also an event in our country where we faced Marburg. And we were able to activate quick clinical trial within days for a monoclonal antibody for Marburg. But it's built on a capacity that was built over time. Our research and data science division here, the vaccine division. But we need to see more of these sites happening across the country. It cannot only be one or two. It has to be many across countries, across the continent, so that we can get closer to our populations. And it is good to see that you'll be tackling issues that are pertinent to the continent. As we were chatting a few minutes ago, we have a big issue on the continent of point-of-care diagnostics, where for many diseases, we've seen it in our countries in the neighborhood, where we have a disease, but by the time you get the diagnosis, given the infrastructure that we have, many central labs being in capital cities, we tend to lose a lot of time. So I think coming up with solutions that fit the demand on the continent is going to be extremely important. All that said, congratulations to everyone. Rwanda is proud to support you and to partner with you to make sure that we bridge the gap of knowledge, of service delivery, of quality work that will lead to science that will bridge the gap, be it in knowledge but also in service delivery to lead to precision medicine and economic development on the continent. So I'd like to thank you. As I promised, I won't take long. It's happy hour time, and I'd like to wish you a good evening and a good success as we roll out ACRN on the continent. Thank you very much.